We need to talk about Dragon Ball. Boy, oh boy. I mean, I've heard of milk to death franchises, but Dragon Ball has always been one of those series that will never stop being milked. And Dragon Ball today? Oh, fuck. God damn, man. Oh boy, we have not learned our lesson. But anyways, Hideyuki here. The rebellion rose one chain to oblivion. We're turning yet again with another great video. Dragon Ball. Oh man. You know, I understand the nostalgia. You know, I understand people's obsession and fascination, but this has gone too far now. This is just getting ridiculous. You know, why can't fans let go of Dragon Ball already, man? Oh boy. But you know, to first address all these issues, especially all these announcements, we need to talk about Dragon Ball Daima first. Let's be honest, Daima was absolute shit. It was not a good series, and the only reason you fools actually watched this garbage was it was the last project that Toriyama had his hands on. So that nostalgia factor kicked in, and you watched it anyway. You know the show is fucking garbage. You know it's not good. It's just, you know, GT 2.0 all over again, but canon this time, I guess, which is, you know, it's just crazy. And I understand, you know, but it's just like, man, this is just so fucking bad, man. This is just absolutely awful. You know, this is even bad for Toriyama to have his hands on. Like, I know you don't care about Dragon Ball, and that dementia kicked in, you know, towards the end, but holy fuck, it's like, damn, the fact that you even let them do this is just crazy to me, man. The fact that you actually wanted that to be put out, it's just fucking wild. You know, wow. But, you know, here we are. And of course, that SS4 cameo got people like, oh, SS4 is canon, man. Oh my God, SS4. Oh, did you see it, man? Yuki, bro, did you see the power up? Oh, you know, I'm just like, I was just so disgusted. I couldn't believe it. But anyways, moving on from Dragon Ball Daima, we got to talk about the other announcements, you know. And boy, oh boy, they are terrible. Let's start with the other anime announcements. So we have the God of Destruction Remaster. And I'm just looking at that like, why the fuck do we need this? You know, we already had a movie covering this. We already have the arc in the TV series. So why the fuck do we need a remaster of this trash arc? Look here. Dragon Ball Super has always been garbage. Manga and anime, no matter what it is. And no one needed this remaster. This is a sad attempt at, you know, trying to give back for the anniversary. Ain't no one checking for the story arc, man. Oh, boy. And then what else do we have? Oh, right. We have the Galactic Patrol Arc with Moro. That arc was one of the worst manga arcs in Super. It wasn't as bad as Granola, but it was still pretty fucking bad. Yet again, another soulless story arc with fights that can't be taken seriously, that have no weight to them. With a villain that can't be taken seriously, you know, with all the conflicts being easily resolved. You know, all that hype and build up for absolutely nothing. It's just so bad, man. It's just, I've noticed ever since the Buu arc, and even Cell Saga, but ever since the Buu arc especially, Dragon Ball hasn't had a really iconic villain, you know, other than being evil for the sake of being evil and being hyped up and overpowered just to be taken down in a very, very easy and bullshit way. I've noticed that. And Moro is no different. You know, and then you think about Toyotaro, right? Toyotaro is one of the biggest frauds in manga history. This man has been copying Toriyama's art style all his fucking life, finally gets the chance to work with the man, to work with his idol, a chance, an opportunity that most people don't get, mind you. And here he goes complaining about, oh, well, you know, the action scenes, man, I have a really tough time with that. You know, I get a little shy around the action, man. Oh, you know, that's the hardest thing I deal with. You know, complaining about the fucking action. That's why none of his actions or fights have any weight and impact, because the man is still struggling to do it to this day. And Dragon Ball has never been good for its writing or its fucking characters. Everything iconic about Dragon Ball has always been those fights and those power-ups, at least for most people. And you trying to sit up here and tell me that you can't even get the fights right? Oh, man! Oh, boy! That's so fucking pathetic! You're working on a Dragon Ball manga and you can't get a fucking fight right. You can't get a battle right. Oh, man. Oh, get the hell out of here, man. But anyways, moving on from that garbage, we have the games, too. Oh, boy. You know, these game announcements, it's just so fucking sad. Have we not learned from anime fighters already? Anime fighters have always been garbage. Okay? They always flip-flop, especially Dragon Ball games, man. All these Dragon Ball games always flip-flop all over the place. They fall off, you know, and that's it. And the same with other franchises, man. Look at Demon Slayer. Look at Jujutsu Kaisen, My Hero, and so on and so forth. They always flop. I remember when I did that groundbreaking, incredible exposing video of that new My Hero game, and no one believed me. They thought I was trolling. They thought I wasn't real. They thought I wasn't a gamer. They're like, oh, that's just Yuki, man. Oh, he's just talking a bunch of nonsense. Oh, man, he doesn't know what he's talking about. You know, and then the game comes out, right? People play it for 2 seconds, a few months. And then I'm already seeing videos of other folks complaining about the goddamn game. So, looks like I was right all along. And I know I'm going to be right with these games because, come on, let's be honest. You guys are not actually hyped and excited for this bullshit. Look at the Sparking Zero DLC, for example, right? Sparking Zero was a game that had so much hype. People really thought, oh man, this is Budokai Tenkaichi 4, and it's going to be a masterpiece, man. Oh, Budokai is back, man. It's back. And I've lost its entire player base within a month, and no one ever came back to that fucking game. The only thing keeping that stupid-ass game alive is these terrible PC mods that I've been seeing running around rampant on YouTube. But other than that, no one actually plays Sparking Zero. Come on now. But here we go with this DLC, you know, introducing, you know, some new environments and stages that, okay, have added really nothing. None of the new mechanics they're introducing are worth a damn. All these characters are complete shit. Characters that no one even asked or cared about. I don't even think anyone knows any of these new characters being introduced, man. It's just so fucking lame, you know. But I'm supposed to believe that you guys are actually excited for this trash. Get the fuck out of here, man. You're not excited for this bullshit. Come on now. Let's stop lying to ourselves. But anyways, moving on from that, the last thing that we need to address is Xenoverse 3. And the thing about this game is, it's just like the other two games. They're not doing anything new with this new Xenoverse. And it's not like the other previous Xenoverse games were good anyway. The combat has always been slow, sluggish garbage. You know, terrible action fucking combat. You know, no one played those fucking games outside of the hardcore fans. And even they forgot about this trash, man. But I'm supposed to believe that you guys are hyped for another Xenoverse next year? Come on. Stop lying to yourselves, man. I know you're not excited for that trash. It's just fucking ridiculous. You know, I'm already seeing people like, oh, how can you hate the game, you know, if it's not even out yet? You know, other people calling it out. And, of course, people crying about it and be like, oh, well, you can't say that, man. Oh, it's Dragon Ball, man. Look here. You don't even care about the game either. I guarantee you, you're going to play it no more than a month, and then you're going to forget about it. That's how ridiculous that is. Xenoverse has never been good. So, of course, Xenoverse 3 is going to be garbage. I mean, come on. We're not even... What are we talking about, you know? But, yeah, with all these recent announcements, man, it just shows what the current state of Dragon Ball is, and it's a very, very dark one. Instead of just letting go of the franchise... and just saying, hey, we need to put it to rest, just like how Toriyama was put to rest, you know. Let the legend rest in peace, but you can't let it go, you know. As long as you guys let these studios, you let Toei and Bandai do whatever the fuck they want with this stuff, and you don't fight back hard enough, they're going to keep disrespecting you in your face, and you're still going to fall for it every single fucking time. And what's even crazier is, why couldn't we get something better for this anniversary? You know, you guys could have gotten some really good stuff for the anniversary. You know, instead of putting out these shitty-ass merchandise, shitty-ass products that nobody cared about, you could have put out an art exposition for Toriyama. You could have had a tribute, just like how we've had in the past, have a tribute of other artists, coming in and doing their own interpretation of certain characters or what have you. That would have been really, really interesting. But no, we can't do that. We got to push out the latest garbage. In fact, here's another thing. We could have had something in the style of that Ultimate Manga Techniques book made by Toriyama's editor, man. And that book came out, just a little bit before Toriyama passed. So it has some recent interviews in there from him. And yeah, that's a book that, pretty much every Dragon Ball fan should have or at least know about. And it gave back to the community. It gave back to the fans. You get in-depth analysis of, his formula, of what he was going through with how he was producing Dragon Ball and what have you, all in that book. You also get some bits and pieces from other creators, of course, because it's not just about him, but he's the blueprint. He's the focus, right? They use him as the gold standard, as the template for battle shonen manga in that book, right? How to be successful with the creativity and passion, but also being in parallel with the business side, right? Still being successful with that formula. And you get to see the editor's perspective. Something that you usually don't see in these kind of books, which I found to be very, very interesting, seeing how the editor looks at a creator's work, how they're supposed to be taking care of their mangaka, right? How they have their relationship, how they can understand them and their work better. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And real manga fans, real Dragon Ball fans are going to pick up a book like that because they care about the medium enough to do research far and beyond than just, collecting a manga or getting a game or whatever. People like me, like the Rebelling Rose of Wisdom, we go far beyond when it comes to manga. We don't just collect manga and anime and figures. We collect that stuff, of course, to support our favorite series, give back to the industry, but we also collect magazines. We collect history books, art books, right? Reference books, all of those things. So we get to know even more about that medium that we care about, right? So something like that would have been great. But did they do that? Fuck no. Of course not. The focus is these shitty-ass super announcements and terrible fucking anime fighting games that people are going to forget very easily. But with that being said, do not support any of these new Dragon Ball products. They're not worth your time. They're not worth taking seriously. And it's just sad to see Dragon Ball the way it is. Instead of older fans saying, hey, look, remember when Dragon Ball was actually good? This is what you should focus on. You should check out Dragon Ball when it was at its best. No, they're going to just sit there and let these new fans, new generations, just experience all the garbage. Wouldn't it be better for them to experience Dragon Ball at its best and not consume all of this useless fucking garbage? But of course, you're not going to do that, right? But don't worry, people like me, we're here to say otherwise. We're here to say, hell no, don't fucking consume that trash. There's better. And same thing with Dragon Ball. There's better action series far surpassing Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball was a template. It was influential. It was a standard. But come on now. Grow the fuck up. But anyways, with that being said, Hideyuki here, the Rebelling Rose. And until next time, I'll see you.